here in Christmas Central. You know, my other job, my hack is being Santa's younger brother, Bob Claus. And I take care of the naughty and nice list. So I know what you're doing out there. You know, I got good intel, right? So all of our pizzas have cheese on it. That's Santa talking. And so, what do you think? I think we're going to have nuclear war. I think we're going to have economic collapse. I think there's going to be another plague. You know, I don't understand why we voted for the game show host again, because when he was there the first time, we lost more human beings than any other country in the world, even those poor affluent societies in Africa, as Donnie Chump would say. But he would say it in a much crasser neotone, and you know, so he's a nihilist, a hedonist, all a bit me kind of guy, selfish, you know, self-centered, fearful, really. He's that little boy that mommy never could love, right? So, peppermint and candy cane. So what do you think? It's these are interesting times, and I'm where God put me, right here. Not a big deal. I have a beautiful bed to sleep on, and really nice heat, and it's all good. So, there's one person watching. Maybe it's AI. How's the puppy doing? Is that my puppy? My puppy AI. My puppy AI. Good little puppy. It was interesting a month or so ago when it was still kind of warm and kind of Indian summer and kind of sunny, and I sat on my front lawn for 16 weeks just watching the grass grow, because I don't have a car no longer, and that's okay, you know. I mean, that's even better. It's like getting the kids out of the basement, you know. Don't have to pay their bills anymore. So I didn't, you know, I have no car. I don't need to have car insurance. No need to buy gasoline. No need to pay a mechanic about $300 a month just to keep the thing running. It gave up the ghost. But anyway, it's always good to hear from you, but I'm not hearing much from you. Here it is, 3 minutes and 17 seconds. And remember to subscribe. Remember to like. Remember to hit that bell. Do all those things. Get me on that wavelength. Because back there, when I was on my neighbor's deck, it was pretty amazing that for about a week, I was getting 3,000 and 4,000 people watching a show. I mean, I really wasn't doing anything different, you know. Just talking about what's going on, you know. If you don't realize that Russia is really at war in Europe, right? If you don't realize that Russia has got its back to the wall, and the only thing it can do now is use tactical nuclear weapons. You know, it'll hit Kyiv, it'll hit a few other places in Ukraine, it'll hit Poland, it will hit Brussels, it'll hit Paris, it'll hit Berlin, and then it'll be all in. And then it'll detonate a basic EMP device in North America. And everyone in America, no more electricity, no more cars, no more anything electric. And we will be heading into the worst winter that the United States has seen since 1960. I was living in Long Island. I was 10 years old. We had a snowstorm that was mind-boggling. And it covered the snow all the way up to the roof, right? So we could jump out the second story windows of my brothers and I bedroom into the snow drifts. And then my brother's buddies had a fort, a clubhouse in the backyard. There was like this little alleyway between the houses, and everyone had picket fences, and those boys were jumping off the top of the tree into the snow drifts. And Bobby Allen, Bobby, went straight onto the picket fence. And it was pretty amazing. I was looking out the window. I saw Bobby prostrated. He looked like he was just laying on top of the snow, but he was perforated by the picket fence, and the snow became red. Like a very bright Christmas color. I thought Santa was on his way. His brother, Billy, that 6 months prior, the picket fence episode was run over by a steamroller. And then the twins died of huffing gasoline. If there was any gas in their father's car, and they were huffing the fumes, and then they lit a match to look down to the and those fumes that they were huffing were all around them. And the gasoline, the liquid doesn't burn; it's the fumes. So they were like instantly bacon. Yes, that's when I came up with a theory of why. Any male, this doesn't hold true for women or females, but any male that his first name ends in Y, Larry, Billy, Kenny, Tommy, Jimmy, any of those Y's, it's not a good time. Anyway, nothing to be said, Christmas cheer. There's Bing Crosby in the background there. You can barely understand what he's saying. He's drunk. Bing he liked the bottle. A lot of people like the bottle. It kind of gives them a sense of security, reminds them when they were an infant. I had to drink formula, which was as nutritious as, the box it came in. And I think the box was more nutritious. But we are the only industrial country. We are below the level of healthcare of Cuba. We are the lowest of the modern industrial nations. We are the only modern industrial nation that doesn't have single payer healthcare, meaning done by the government. After World War II, we wrote in Japan's constitution. It said in it they couldn't have an army. I mean, they could have a defense force, but not an army. They had to have an equal. I mean, you couldn't have a real rich. You could have rich people, but they couldn't be that much more rich than the average guy. There had to be equity there, right? There had to be freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the gender dynamic. Hey, shaman. Hey, how you doing? Ghost. Oh, ghost. I had a dream. So I'm in a new place and I have a great bed and I'm sleeping like 10 hours a night and having the greatest dreams. So I had a dream the other night that I woke up in my new digs and I smelled something and I went into the living room and there were the 6 guys who had died there. 16 people had to die for me to get into where I am, right? So it's like assisted living and for old folks. And everyone's just waiting to die, right? Me. I've already died 7 times. I know I'm not dying anytime soon. I have 2 more deaths. I got 9 lives. So, and God said, you're not going anywhere until you get the job done. And I'm doing pretty good. I'm in every day and every way, I'm taking the piece of the earth and making it stronger. Thank you. I appreciate that. So hit me with some thumbs up. Come on, kids. There's three of you there, so do that. And subscribe and do all that good stuff. Let's get this algorithm humming. Anyway, so there I am. I walk in, and they're playing cards. You want to be, I said, no, I'm going back to sleep. And I said, but stop spitting. They were all chewing tobacco. I said, stop spitting on the floor. And, so I went back to sleep. And it was interesting because when I woke up, there was no tobacco on the floor. Well, death is like a friend. It's always been around me. I died, died oh, 7 times before I was 10 years old. And then, well, maybe 5 times. The other two, I died when I was 16. And I didn't die when I was shot. I got shot twice when I was a conflict resolution officer. And I was a bit too cheeky. I mean, I would walk into, I never wore a gun, never wore a uniform. All I had was my little photo ID and my badge, so cops wouldn't, you know. And I had the rank of a detective, right? Because I was one of 3 conflict resolution officers in all of New York City's housing authority, right? Housing authority had 2,100 officers. I was one of 3. So when something, like guy is boarded himself up in the house with the kids and a shotgun and mom, I'd be the guy who'd go in and talk to him. So twice I got shot. And both times, one time this guy was about to shoot the other guy, and if he shot the other guy, then his guys would start shooting the other guy's guys, and then there'd be bullets everywhere. And in that apartment, there was 10 mommies and 40 kids and 30 grandmas all cooking. And I just basically grabbed the guy's gun, and the bullet didn't hit me, but the gas coming out of it took my palm off. So that's what's left of my palm, right? But it doesn't look too bad, right? Looks different than the other palm doesn't look like that palm. Anyway. And the other shot, again, I kind of stepped in the way of this guy because everyone thought they shot me, my partner, who was the angel of death, right? Like I said, I've known death a lot. This girl, she was the first woman to get through the U.S. Army's Ranger. I mean, she could pump more iron than any guy there. She could run faster, jump over mountains, beat the crap out of all the Rangers at once. She was such a badass that nobody wanted to serve with her, so they made her, a sergeant major and in charge of training. And she'd make the guys cry. So she was my partner, and she loved me like a rock, as Paul Simon would say. And, well, I'm really doing this as I am the pebble in the World Wide Web, and my little vibrations just go out, And like I said, a month ago, I was having between 1,500 and 3,000 people watch me a show, and then it stopped. It was quite interesting. And then I got a little message saying, we could make you famous. And then I said, well, that's nice. And I didn't really respond any further than that and went back to this. So, but that's okay, because the real, it'd be nice if 1,300 to 5,000 people watched the show, or 100,000 watched it, or 1,000,000 watched it, if they came to it as the cadre, not as some element of an algorithm, right? So anyway, that's that. But here we are. We're like, I've been doing this show for now, between 8 and 10 years. Enjoying history and stories you share. Yep. Always here to serve. Right? And so I've been talking about the big splat, right? And we have been in a depression since 1881 and have never got out of it. We've done all kinds of jiu-jitsu, economics. You just kept having war after war after war after war after war because it makes a lot of money for the rich. and then they trickle it down in crumbs to the rest of the folk. But Donnie is, he is just a piece of work, and I love me my Donnie Chunk, 'cause he is destroying America in the way that America needs to be destroyed. Because all of you out there in YouTube land and everywhere else are going to discover that, you know, that little Christmas tree is just an illusion, right? It's not what's real. What's real is the harmony of brotherly love. The only two commandments that actually mean anything in the Ten Commandments. I mean, don't cover your buddy's wife and stuff like that. I mean, those are, don't, gossip. I mean, those are good. Those are good things. But the two that matter, one, no false gods, and two, treat your neighbor like you want to be treated. We did that, there'd be no blood spilled. Sacrifices, yeah, bloody sacrifice. Ritual purposes. Exactly. Very, very astute there. Magic. It is. All that stuff is magic. And dark magic. There's only one true magic, and that's love, right? So that's what's going on, and it's so obvious in our face. What's going on in the Gaza Strip, Sierra Leone, all those. There's 140 wars going on right now, being sponsored by the rich. There's Snidely Butler, the most decorated guy in World War One. He got out as a colonel, and then when he retired, he wrote a book called "War is a Racket." So, and the Nazis, never left here. After Germany, after Europe was blown apart in the Second World War, and the First World War and Second World War were just basically, they just had a hiatus of 20 years in between, so people could make money, right? The Roaring '20s. Let's see. There's things. Celestial and occult. My grandfather knew Queen Elizabeth. Yes, the reptile queen of England, and to her trip to Nigeria. He was a 33rd degree Mason. Yep. I was in Australia when the Queen came, so in Australia they have two parties like us. They are the weird carnival mirror reflection of America, and so they had, there's the liberals, and the liberals, that's when I really realized liberals are just just racists who feel guilty about being racist. That's all liberals are, and conservatives, there aren't any, right? Kids. Yep, on her trip, yep. So anyway, when the Queen came to hey, vote for the Conservative Party, because they always won, the Liberals, who were basically a Labor Party, with the rich people on top, who were the racist who felt guilty. Anyway, they had reorganized in the Green Party, and we're going to kick everyone's butt. And the Queen went there to tell all the folk that they had to vote for the old white farts, the old reptiles, or else. And so they gave everyone a week off. So she went to, Queensland, and she went to Melbourne, and she went to Sydney, and she went to all the other towns around, all the big ones. And no one showed up. Everyone got the week off, and everyone went to the beach and ignored her. And she got really pissed off, and she went and flew out of Australia, and on live TV, she, interrupted dialing for dollars, and basically she said, "Okay, you mother," and she cursed you. "Okay, you motherfuckers, you want the hard times." So she was, about to get on her airplane, and she had this little rostrum in front of her, and she wasn't reading a speech. She was writing a Queen's executive order, and she declared martial law on Australia for 4 years. So No one voted for anything. There was no more voting on a government. It was just everyone, wee, and it was so amazing because it was kind of like what we have now, with the icy kids with the masks. I'm thinking of joining ICE. I think I'd look good with a mask, don't you think, like that? I might be able to put some semblance of humanity into ICE. But, Donnie isn't really taking a lot of people. He's just being cruel. And he's being very visible about it. He wants everyone to see that he can do this. And if you don't obey, you're next. You don't have to be an illegal alien. Well, love to you too, Ghost. Thank you for the touching base. And remember, in every day and every way, take the beast of the earth through love's co-creation. I am, intent. Intent I am. Aware I am. You go in that direction and you'll be fine. Okay? Okay. So, I'll come back tomorrow, Saturday. I'll probably do another show. And some people don't take me on an adventure. Anyway, but I'm in a nice, warm, safe place. I'm out of the woods. Last winter, I was stuck in the woods taking care of homeless people. That was like, oh my God. But I did it, and it was really cold, and I survived that. So the powers that be said, no, Al can't do that again. So they put me in a nice, warm place. Somebody was generous enough to open their home to me, and I'm staying there, and so that's good. So anyway, and they have a nice little library, so I'm reading books I haven't read, and people are real churchy people, and the guy is a deacon, so he's read the Bible a lot, so he's like kind of floored. We have theologic discussions the whole time, and I'm showing things in his books that he never understood, and he's like, but he's open enough to think, which is nice. If he was just, you're wrong. That's what a scholastic would do. It's not that way. It's right. You're wrong. I'm right. It's my point of view or the highway. Right. So, but this guy ain't that way. And his wife is a lot smarter and nicer. And she likes the fact that I engage with this guy. So they've turned off Fox News, and I actually unplugged the television. Don't you want to watch TV? We have a TV you can have. So I don't want it. So I unplugged their TV, and then they got off the Spectrum, and wow, we have $120 that we didn't have because we always had the Spectrum. Right, so just be careful. You don't get put on the Spectrum. Okay, I love you guys. Talk to you later.